We're kind of getting cut. Oh. What the hell? Where does that go?
This is the so-called second sphinx in the work of Dr. Reader.
I think.
Oh, what's your head?
Okay. I'm going in. Okay, it doesn't go anywhere. That was disappointing. Hey, I am back outside the Great Pyramids of Giza. We're on the Giza Plateau today. We're not going inside the pyramids. We are going to be investigating all around the Giza Plateau, looking at all of the ancient tech evidence, having a little look at that, going to see the second Sphinx. I've never seen that before, so I'm super excited to see that. At the minute, we are just debating about the boat pits that are outside the pyramids, because there's a lot of there's a lot of arguments back and forth about the boat pits. So supposedly the pyramids were 4th dynasty made, and the boat pits were 5th dynasty boat pits, so the next generation decided to dig a pit and put their boats in it. However, no boats have been found in the boat pits. Well, one boat, to be fair, one boat was found on the other side, but in all of the main boat pits around the main pyramids, no boats were found. So Christopher Dunn believes that, well, he has a theory, a working theory, that these were actually pits that were holding giant circular 30-foot saws, which meant that they could cut to size whatever measurement they wanted. They could have these huge saws. Of course, there's no evidence for such saws, but it would make sense why they were doing that. And then we are arguing amongst ourselves whether or not these are actually 5th dynasty boat pits, or whether or not they were ancient saw pits that then the 5th dynasty Egyptians found and were like, cool, could fit a boat in that. I think because the boat pits seem pretty, well, incredibly roughly cut out. So if it was like ceremonial, my brain is going, they look quite functional. Like they just scooped a bit of rock out so that, I mean, I can see what Christopher Dunn's saying. It does make sense. Right near the site, you've got these big saw pits where you'd need them, because obviously you want it right next to where you're building it. The placement makes sense. They are not like decorated, they're not ornate. It's literally just like swiped a bit of limestone out. Would make sense it was a blade pit. And then later dynasties that come along, find something and repurpose it and reuse it. It's a theme that we see all the time. I'm not opposed to the idea that saw pits became boat pits. Why bury your boat?
Yeah, there was a giant wire.
This one looks more like a boat pit, but the other one doesn't. It just looks like a scoop of land.
Well, actually, this huge one looks very much like a boat pit, but like this one larger.
Oh.
It looks like it. That things, no, it's to use this saw. So we'll bring
Pit or saw pit or both?
I grew up as knowing it's both.
It's both, okay.
I have heard the saw by Dunn. That was interesting.
Yeah.
You know, we are open to listen and learn from, you know, many different scholars, researchers, scientists. So why not?
Yeah.
But I can't imagine it, but okay, maybe it was a saw and then used as a pit.
As a pit, yeah.
Maybe in one time it was a saw, it didn't look this way, then they have carved it to be boat pit for burial boat after.
Yeah.
A century after.
Oh my God, it's so hot today. Last time I came to Egypt, it was December. It is decidedly hotter coming in September. Just a warning, and very moist. So if you could imagine back in the day, this basalt like flooring would have covered
How many of
everywhere.
you would like to ride a camel today? Raise your hand.
Look at the.
Yes.
Because it's continuous from the
And there's a
beginning.
lip at the top here that's you knocked from a chisel.
Are these rejects that they didn't use?
I don't think they're rejects. I think this.
The whole site was recycled by the Arabs. 300.
So this is not in its original position.
No. This is all like most of the Giza Plateau is now like a recycled graveyard.
Wonderful.
Because they ripped all of the
Casing.
casings off and everything and put it in other
You can
places.
see the marks
Oh,
inside.
That's what I want to see.
Inside the actual thing.
Wolverine!
Sorry.
That's insane. Yeah, go on. Pour some water on there. Okay, so there's like marks inside.
Inside, you can see it if you come from where I'm standing.
Ah, yes. That's insane.
That is actually.
I mean, that's not a copper chisel.
No.
You can't chisel that. And why 3 marks? That's weird. What were they like practicing? I struck it thrice.
That's the thing.
That has a big lip in there. Can you see that? Can you see what I'm seeing? Can you see that like yes. It is a saw mark. It is definitely like there's a sharp lip in there. A sharp physical lip. That's a saw mark. In my professional opinion, that is a saw mark.
You got that much now?
Khufu was the biggest and the first one of the 3.
Yeah, Khafre appears to be bigger, but that's only because it's on the higher part of the plateau. Khufu is actually the tallest pyramid. It's the Great Pyramid. They're all considered Great Pyramids of Egypt. The Khufu Pyramid is the Great Pyramid of Egypt, the great of the greats. Khufu was the father of Khafra, okay? And on the inventory stela, it gives us an account that Khufu restored or built a temple next, because the glyph could be for restored or built. So we can interpret different ways. Either way, he constructed a temple on the side of the Sphinx. Why is this not possible? Anyone? Khufu, on the inventory stela that was found here by Auguste Mariette, it says that Khufu built a structure on the side of the Sphinx. When did the Egyptologists tell us the Sphinx was built? After Khufu.
Yeah.
His son, Khafra, it's attributed to Khafra. They believe it's the face of Khafra. So here we have on the stela. The problem is that it's a later period because of the features on the inventory stela. It's attributed to 21st, 29th. Don't quote me on this. It's a later period, I think 21st dynasty. And the Egyptologists have a term for this. It's known as archaizing. So in other words, in later dynasties, they would often make replicas of older stela, older records. They would copy it in stone. And sometimes the Egyptologists believed that they would try to assert their own, try to claim a heritage that wasn't necessarily theirs. It was propaganda. According to the Egyptological point of view, they were trying to tell stories to put themselves in the picture at this very late period. Or were they just paying homage and trying to preserve the ancient records? I don't know.
But so just to clarify, the stela says that Khufu could have rebuilt or fixed or done up a temple next to the Sphinx?
The word could apply for multiple, it'd be interpreted multiple ways. If you read the context and you understand Egyptian hieroglyphs, it's constructed. Khufu, the inventory stela tells us that Khufu constructed a temple on the side of the Sphinx.
Right.
How could Khufu construct a temple on the side of the Sphinx
When
it was supposed his son? Exactly.
So the Sphinx was during Khufu and
Hidden
must be
knowledge.
before.
Yes.
But
You know in advance. It's
they-
all right here.
But they discard that too.
That's crazy.
I had the privilege of leading a group of Maori, the indigenous people of New Zealand, and they were all Maori school teachers that teach their own indigenous tradition in private schools through the Maori. Even on the trip, every night I was included. They had to go into a secret meeting. But what they told me is, right away they looked at this, they said there's a way of doing this with sand and water. That in their tradition, they're able to shape stone with sand. It remains to be seen. but they have some sort of method. They claim that this can easily be done with sand and water. I don't know. For Christopher Dunn, we don't have the tools in the archaeological record to achieve this.
It's just huge. To the Menkaure pyramid, which is the third tiny one, even though it's not that tiny, it's still pretty big. And we are in the temple, the mortuary temple outside it. But it is so big and megalithic. I feel like a tiny little ant. Look at this. Look at this. I'm just about the height of the first layer of rock. And this is like, there's no mortar, there's no cement sticking this stuff together. It's built entirely just by, I hate to use the word precision, but like, they knew what they were doing. This is insane. And it would have been even bigger. It's just so freaking huge. I don't know. I don't know whether it's just because I really want in my heart this to be older, but something in my gut is saying that the bigger stuff might be older and from a different people who made the smaller stone stuff. Like, I'm open to it. Maybe the dynastic Egyptians, 4th dynasty, 3rd dynasty, maybe they came and they found this area on the Giza Plateau. They realized how special it was because there was these ancient megalithic structures, temples, and they decided to build their pyramids around and in front of, and you know, maybe this site was, somebody marked this site as important, and maybe they did that with big megalithic stones. This is the Valley Temple, and it's one of my favorite Egyptian temples because it doesn't look like an Egyptian temple. It hasn't got the classic rounded columns. It's not covered head to toe in hieroglyphs and ornate pictures and color. It's kind of stark naked with not a glyph in sight, incredible megalithic cut stone. In fact, it looks almost like the same designer who made the Osirian. There is a lot of arguments that the Osirian is an older temple. You can watch other videos I've done on the Osirian, but essentially it was an ancient temple that the ancient Egyptians found when they were building a temple, because in the foundations they found the Osirian. So there's a big argument that the Osirian is like way old, and it's interesting that the Osirian and the Valley Temple look so similar. See what I mean? What's also really interesting about the stonework here is that it's pretty much identical to stonework that you find in Peru and other places in the world like Easter Island. Rather than facing two stone blocks point to point to make a corner, they carve a corner out of a block. What's also really cool is that the granite that they had to drag hundreds of miles from Aswan to create the casing stones around the Valley Temple, because the original limestone blocks were eroding by a certain dynasty, so they decided to recase them. They decided to cut the granite to fit exactly the shape of the eroding limestone. We don't know why they did it like this. this would be so much more complicated. Well, from our eyes, this would be so much more complicated, but did they have tools and a way and a method and a mindset where it was easier just to fit and cut the granite to the eroding limestone? We don't know. There's just a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions here, and it's very cool. My number one would be the pyramid in the military zone.
Oh yeah.
That's just my favorite site, I think, that I've never seen. Oh, okay, so this is the second Sphinx.
This is the second Sphinx. Best view is back here though, so you get that side profile. You were inside the Sphinx enclosure today on the northern side, so call back to memory. When you come right about here, now turn around and look in this direction.
Yeah.
It's as if you're at the rear and see the back of the head.
Yeah.
But when you look at it from the front or from an aerial view, it doesn't exactly look like the Sphinx.
Yeah, it just might just look... I mean, it is weird. It's a weird shape, though.
It's weird.
Like, naturally, why would it be shaped like that?
Yes? Tyler, come here!
Okay, and this is inside. This is inside.
Just look at this real quick.
Yeah, from the front does not look like it at all.
Oh, you have to get back so you can come down so you can get this corner and then we go.
Yeah, I think it...
Just a big rock.
Just a bit of rock. I mean, it is weird how it is smoothed so much.
Right?
Dunno. I need to look at its position exactly where it is, if it's important or not. Okay.
So here is the core stone, and it is really, and it's Old Kingdom, same date, same age as the Sphinx, and it doesn't show any water, erosion as right there next to the Sphinx. Next to here is the Sphinx.
Like it would do, wouldn't it?
It must do if it was, because this was exposed, huh?
Yeah, well, you have the bedrock, the original bedrock, and then
This was added.
yeah,
So
dressed
the
it.
bedrock was sticking up.
Yeah.
I mean,
It fell. This fell, so the
Right, but I
bedrock
mean-
you see.
So there's a hump of bedrock sticking out here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that was exposed to the elements in the Old Kingdom, and it didn't do the same thing
Right.
that the Sphinx enclosure
Which means
supposedly
the Sphinx
did.
is pretty old.
Must be, because
The Sphinx and its enclosure, because the enclosure was exposed after they quarried around
Yes.
to build the temples and
Plus-
to have a body of the Sphinx. Huh? It was really heavily by rain, water erosion is so much.
the periods
While
really
all the
cold,
around
it's
that
not.
was built later
Ehab says we have to go.
should be same age.
Back.
yes. So this, in theory, like it can't be raining over there and not over here. Both have to have it or none
You
have
haven't
it.
seen my
Let me
weather.
look the kid up.
Go out this way.
Hey hunters, thanks for watching. Some very quick housekeeping. Next year is going to be actually epic. I'm going to go back to Egypt in March 2023. If you feel called, if you feel like you would want to join this epic adventure, we are going to be crawling and scrambling over all the pyramids, down all of the passageways that we can find. We're going to be meeting Sekhmet again. We are going to be going down the Osiris shaft. We are going to be going on a 3-day River Nile cruise, which I think is possibly the best thing you can ever do in Egypt. It is so luxurious and it is so beautiful, and it beats sitting on a bus. I'm going to pop the link in the description if you would like to join us and be one of the team. It really is a once in a lifetime opportunity to see these sites in person for yourself.